All right, guys, I just want to welcome back to Everything College Football Podcast. Today I'll be doing my preview and prediction for the Citrus Bowl between South Carolina and Illinois. 10-point line in favor of the Gamecocks, 49.5 is the total. 3 p.m. Eastern Time, New Year's Eve from Camping World Stadium in Orlando. Getting things started with the SC offense against the Illinois defense. The South Carolina offense, they got better throughout the year, over 31 points per game. Lenora Sellers, the young quarterback, has really started to evolve his game. As a runner, he's been good all year long. He's really taken an uptick in effectiveness, though, as the season went along. Last time out against Clemson, 166 yards in that road victory. He was running for his life the entire day. Broke a lot of tackles, was able to make some big-time plays. This is a guy that's incredibly hard to contain. 242 pounds. He's a heck of a runner for that size. Complete 65%, 17 touchdowns, 7 picks. This is a passing attack that's also had some bright spots. 353 yards and 5 scores against Missouri. Plenty of 200-yard games in here as well. So this is an offense that has tremendous balance. It's going to be all about the run game, though, and you look at who else is around him. Raheem Sanders looks like he'll not be playing in this game due to an opt-out. Oscar Attaway, he's a nice-sized back. Shouldn't be tremendous fall-off. 226 yards, 2 scores this year. Juju McDowell as well has not really touched the ball. I think this was a pretty deep backfield coming into the year, so the loss of Sanders isn't great, but it's they're going to be just fine for this game. I think they have 2 guys that are capable, and of course you have a quarterback there to kind of help you out with some of the touches. Robbie Ashford, he's in the portal. Maybe he get on the field for some runs as well. I think the rushing attack will be just fine. 188.9 yards per game. That's very solid. And you're looking at a defense that gives up about 150 yards per game. Haven't been as good this year as I thought they would be against the run. Against Penn State and Purdue, gave up 239 yards each in that one. 200 plus the Rutgers. Oregon, 229 yards as well. So Illinois, they haven't been abysmal, but they've been competitive, I guess you could say. The biggest problem for them is just the D-line. I thought there'd be a big of a liability this year, and it has been. The linebackers really carried this team. They're hopeful to have Dylan Roziek at middle linebacker back for this game. If he's not, it's a big loss. The 2 outside edge rushers, though, Gabe Jackus and Seth Coleman, they're going to be heavily leaned on here. Looks like those guys will play. Those 2 did play the season finale, or missed the season finale injury, so you're hoping Coleman and Jackus can, or Coleman and Roziek, that is, can be back for this game. Combined 17 TFLs between Gabe and Seth, so these guys are going to be the tone setters on defense. And I like what they have in the secondary as well. Guys like Matthew Bailey, Miles Scott, Xavier Scott. These guys are ball hawks, and they're pretty good at coming up and making plays against the run as well. Torrey Cox at corner with 3 picks. Xavier Scott has 4 picks. These guys, they're good. And I think they can come up and make plays against the run again. Just a pretty weak D line this year. It's really led to them, not being all that great. So I think South Carolina, though, they'll have an edge when it comes to running the football. But drop back passing, I think that Illinois might be able to make some waves. This is a team with 29 sacks this year going up against an offensive line. It's just abysmal. 122nd in sacks allowed. The game against Clemson, they were getting beat on every single rep, and this quarterback was able to make phenomenal plays for them. So it's not a given that you're just going to get obliterated if in drop back passing, because this guy's going to make plays for you. If you just got to be sound in making tackles, though, and I think that's something that Sellers is certainly going to make hard for the defense. In terms of the passing game, Joshua Simon at tight end leads the way, 450 and 6 scores. Also has a team high 34 receptions. Mazio Bennett, he's number 2. Raheem Sanders was a big pass catcher for them. Nicholas Harbor's production's been pretty weak this year, but he's obviously a big-time playmaker. They can step up at any moment. Dalvion Campbell, he played a good bit against Clemson. So this is a passing attack that, against Wofford, that is. Sorry, he didn't do anything against Clemson, but he stepped up 120 yards in that game. Had some big plays against Missouri as well. So they got a few different guys here I think they're confident in. This passing attack's not going to overwhelm you by any means. I think there's going to be opportunities for Illinois to potentially create. They got 12 picks this year as a team. Limit opponents to under 60% comp rate, so they're going to make it hard on opponents. I like what Illinois brings to the table on defense. I know they're not overwhelming by any means, 22 points per game. This is a competitive unit. I think they'll show up in this game. They won't get absolutely clobbered, but on the ground they do have a disadvantage against SC. Moving to the other side of the ball, Illinois, good offensive unit, 29 points per game. This is what I thought they would do last year, and they ended up being abysmal. Luke Altmaier specifically, and this year he bounced back tremendously. 21 touchdowns, 212 yards per game, only 5 interceptions. He's done a great job protecting the football. This is a team that really loves to win the short to intermediate routes. Top receiver Pat Bryant, he'll be out, declared for the draft. So guys like Colin Dixon, Hank Beatty, tight end Tanner Arkin are going to have to step up. And then Zachariah Franklin, he's going to get he's going to get a bulk of targets here. 51 grabs, 613 yards, kind of a forgotten receiver coming into the year. Reuniting with Barry Lenny Jr. at OC. He's going to get a ton of work in this game. So they're kind of limited now. That 1-2 punch isn't going to be there. That's certainly going to make this passing attack harder to click. Up front, they're missing one of their starters at right guard. Zy Chrysler hasn't been all that great. As a veteran player against this D-line, though, you'd like to have all hands on deck. It's going to be tough against this elite defensive line. One of the best in college football. Obviously, Kyle Kennard's not playing. It's going to be a pretty sizable loss, but nothing that will cost them the game in this matchup. Dylan Stewart, 9.5 TFL. He's ready to step up and take over. The other guys on this D-line, they should all be playing, though. It looks like Tonka Hemingway, TJ Sanders, those guys both going to go to the NFL. They're going to be playing this game, it appears. Alex Huntley as well. So, they still got some ballers up here. Brian Thomas Jr. has been a good defender. And at linebacker, they have two great veterans, Demetrius Knight and Bam Martin-Scott. So it's going to be a defense that has everybody playing, it appears. I don't think those guys will be opting out by any means. I like what they have on defense from top to bottom. This is a phenomenal unit. Nobody runs the ball on these guys. In terms of yards per game allowed, 106th, I think 12th nationally. They haven't given up a single game of 150 rushing this year, and that's facing some tough attacks. Clemson, Missouri, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Alabama, nobody was able to top 150 yards. 3 yards per carry given up. This D-line is going to shut down this rushing attack of Illinois. It's been solid, complimentary, 151 yards per game. They've had some injuries that have led to Aiden Lowry stepping up, 522 and 4 scores this year. Josh McCray's a bruiser, 508 scores. So he'll probably get a bulk of the carries at 235 pounds. Nice 1-2 punch for them. Offensive line still isn't bad for Illinois. Left tackle J.C. Davis, I think he's a competitive player that can certainly hold up against these elite edge rushers. I think this is going to be a tough matchup top to bottom, though. They're going to really key on Franklin, slow down the run game, and I think Illinois, they can't really operate as one-dimensional. Seen that against Penn State early on in the season, where they only had 34 rushing yards. They only manufactured 7 points. It was really hard for them to get going. Rest of the year, though, they were able to have at least 120 rushing in every game. That allowed them to score more points in games. Includes a 3-game win streak to get here into this bowl. Trying to take advantage of a secondary. It's going to be hard for them with limited weapons. This is a great group that's coached very well. They have some of their veterans like Nick Iwawarmi. He'll be playing in this game. He confirmed O'Donnell Fortune. He's been an elite cover corner. Love what he brings to the table. Judge Collier on the other side. Been a little bit more, of a guy you can target, but he hasn't been bad by any means. Slot corner Jalen Kilgore is a phenomenal player as well. Then, of course, another safety in DQ Smith. He's not a great tackler, but he's been consistent coverage, a good run defender. It's really hard to pierce the secondary as well. Another part of their defense is just phenomenal. They've been giving up some pass yards, though. Against Clemson, their D-line didn't do as much as I thought they would. That was a poor offensive line they faced. They weren't really able to generate much pressure, and they were starting to get beat in the secondary by great individual plays. We've come to learn that Clemson has great weapons, though, so I don't think that's going to be an issue here. South Carolina will have the skill advantage. 0 300-yard games allowed this year from the South Carolina secondary. So this is a team that's going to be very competitive on this side of the ball. Everyone, if you've watched football this year, you know that this is an elite defense. And again, for Illinois, they're not going to be able to run the ball, I wouldn't believe. And I think it's going to be tough for Altmaier. Franklin's going to get a lot of targets, though. And it's really going to be hard to win this game because they're going to have to run the ball. If they can't do that, it's really going to be hard. So moving to the final prediction, I think Illinois can keep it competitive, scoring 21 points. I know after the bashing I just did on the offense, seems a little unrealistic. I think this is a good team, though, and I think they should be given a little bit more respect maybe than a 10-point line, just because I think their defense can be competitive as well. I think they'll be able to do solid work against the run in this matchup. And I know South Carolina does have the advantage, but I don't think they're going to run for like 300 yards or anything. There'll be opportunities for them to create some stops and force some punts, I think. And then Illinois, I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball, but I think Altmaier's going to make some plays with his legs. Franklin's going to come up big at times, and I think they'll be able to take advantage of some short fields. Hopefully they can create a turnover or two, come up with some sacks against a poor offensive line. So I think some short fields will play into their favor. It's going to be hard to score points, though. And it's bowl season. Teams typically produce a little bit better than they typically would in the regular season. So, with that in mind, I think they'll cover the spread 27-21. I think South Carolina will be in control of this game the entire time. Should be a good one, though. I don't think it'll be a blowout like the line indicates it could be. Kind of like this Illinois team and the guys that they have on defense. So that's going to be it for today's episode. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.